Well, thank you, Ian. And hello, I am Kerri Shepard, and I am coming to you from Texas in the United States. So not quite lunchtime here, but thank you for your time today. It's just an honor to be with all of these amazing speakers and just to share what we feel are just pearls of wisdom about how to remove barriers to success. So thank you so much. I just want to share a little bit today. I want to talk to you about being an overcomer. And I want to ask, do you resonate, do you identify with the term overcomer? And I just invite you, you can write yes or no in the chat box, or sometimes I do, Kerri. And but that overcomer word, sometimes we see ourselves that way and sometimes we don't. But I want to tell you today that you are an overcomer. And separate from your behavior, you're an overcomer, whether you identify with it, whether that's been your experience, because you were created to be an overcomer by your creator. And we can remove barriers to success, and we should. We should identify them and remove them. We can do that. But if we do not shift our ability to see ourselves as an overcomer, we won't sustain success and we won't find true fulfillment. And so, there's something on the inside of each one of us because of how we were made that connects to overcoming, even if it's just a desire to. And that's there because God put it there. And, I was thinking in light of that, we aren't really who we've been thinking we are if we're not overcoming, and we haven't yet lived the life we were created to live. And so I'm hoping as I talk today that there is something happening on the inside of you that says, you know what, I was made to overcome. And these barriers can be identified and they can be removed so that I can be the fullness of who I was created to be. And I want to tell you a story of how the Lord introduced me to myself, the overcomer. This is about 20 years ago. I was a young mom, stay-at-home mom, and I had just started a new network marketing business. I was super excited and too scared to talk to anyone. And so I would call people when I knew I would get their voicemail. And I just had a lot of fear, and I didn't know how to remove that barrier. I did not know how to be successful. I was frustrated with having a lot of potential and no results. Can anybody relate to that? And so what I did is I signed up for a leadership development course, and it was all the way, I was in Southern California, this was in Northern California. And the last day of this week-long leadership development course that was amazing, they took us to the redwoods. Now the redwoods are just I think maybe they're the tallest trees on the planet for sure in the United States. They tower, and this is a ropes course. Now, about now, I should mention to you, I had a lifelong fear of heights. It wasn't my only fear. There was the fear of swimming and many fears, but my mother had this fear, and I grew up with a fear of heights. And so as I'm looking at this ropes course, which is essentially like bungee jumping off a redwood tree, I had a pretty significant identity crisis. And in that moment, the instructor, as I was trying to hear him through gripping anxiety, he said, you do not have to participate in the fullness of this exercise. But what you do have to do is you have to suit up. And then as you suit up and we attach the harness and the cord to you, you have to walk over and put your hand on the ladder. Then you can decline. Well, this is a very smart instructor, mentor. And what the course involved was scampering up a 15-foot ladder, and which was placed to connect to a telephone pole at the top of the hill where the ladder was. And then the telephone pole, you transitioned from the ladder to a telephone pole and then would climb rung upon rung to the top of the telephone pole, and then have to turn around and jump across the air to grab onto a trapeze if you could connect with it. And this is the idea of the ropes course. So as you can imagine, lots of fear, lots of anxiety. I suited up, I went and put my hand on the ladder. And here's where it got really interesting. There was something in me that wouldn't say, I decline. I didn't know this person, but there was something in me as I suited up and I put my hand on that ladder that said, I am not quitting. And I started climbing that ladder. Now, there's a war going on the inside of me. How many of you can relate to this, right? There's a war happening, and the voice is screaming at me. And the voice is saying, this is not who you are. And it would scream, you are afraid of heights. Over and over, I heard my barrier. This is not who you are. And then when that didn't work, because I kept climbing, because there's something on the inside of me that I had never fully connected to before. And as I kept climbing, the voice switched and said, you're going to have to go back down. Every step you take, you're going to have to do in reverse. But again, I just kept going. As I made it onto the telephone pole, my brain thought to myself, how are you going to make it from the pole back to the ladder? But I just kept going. I got to the top of the telephone pole, and in order to stand up, if you've never been to the top of a telephone pole, there's no guardrail, you just literally have to balance your feet on the top two rungs and leap up onto the top. And I did. And I got to the top and realized the trapeze was behind me. And so I had to shimmy. And as I shimmied around, I felt the pull of the harness on my back. And that is the best picture. I'm going to finish the story, but I just have to say that is the best picture of a mentor I've ever experienced. You are not alone on the top of that telephone pole. There is somebody else with you. And that gave me the courage to shimmy little bit by little bit until I was facing a trapeze, push up my sleeves, me, the person afraid of heights my whole life, and leaped across the air, grabbed a trapeze, and screamed for all I was worth. And that day, I met myself in a way I had never met myself before. And I realized that I had a whole new journey and a new pursuit to discover who God created me to be, which was an overcomer. And I, that day, realized I'm shifting from someone who is being mentored, and there is going to be a day where I'm going to mentor. And I tell you, I love being a mentor. I've been mentoring people for over 15 years, and I love it. You have to have a heart to care for people and to care where they are and to help, to listen, to have compassion for the struggles and the fears. And while I'm listening to them and loving them, I'm also listening to the Lord for what do you want to say? What barrier are you highlighting? What barrier do you want to demolish? What do you want to exchange for this fear or this lie about who they are? So what I want to say to you today is there is a way to relate to the Lord as your mentor with another mentor to identify who you've thought you were and shift into who you were really created to be. And if that intrigues you, if that is something kicking on the inside of you, I just invite you, put my name, Kerri Shepard, in the chat box. You can visit my website, kerrishepard.com. And if you're like, hey, Kerri, I don't know about hearing from God. That sounds, I don't know if I can do that. I have a free ebook that you can download on my website called Unclogging Your Ears So You Can Hear God Speak. You were created to hear him, and you were created to discover that you're an overcomer. And with the Lord, you can remove every barrier to your success. And I'd love to help you. Thank you so much for your time. Blessings to you.